Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I am happy to be a part of this reading. Uh, it's always spectacular to read with people that you don't know, and that you don't know that you haven't met, or you know their work, but you haven't met them. Living in New York City has been a blessing for my wife and I. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I always wanted to live in New York. I always wanted to live in New York. I'm going to read this poem, which is the title poem of my book, Duende, which is a large book, 656 pages. And this book is published this past year. It's for Garcia Lorca and Miles Davis. Garcia Lorca was a big influence on my poetry. Miles Davis, who became a good friend of mine, but his music, he was from East St. Louis, was always a big influence on me, on my work and everything. And so that's why I dedicated it to them. Duende. It's in the bottomless power, magic of Duende, climbing stealthily from earth, wrapped inside secrets, mystery infused in black magic that enters bodies in the form of music, art, poetry imbuing language with sovereignty, in blood spooling back through violent centuries, voices echoing ancient Africa. Rise, thread now from skins of blessed sacred rituals. People emerge from drums as heartbeats in time where memory is revived here now through metaphor. When old voices find their way, vibrating into song, singing rhythms, stitch forgotten sounds into language. Beat out of them by whips on slave ships, bring back wonder of feet pounding, dance now, the Holy Ghost lost in bloody homelands. Now souls underneath rise up through bodies, pull back with talisman, hypnotic, pull ancient voodoo up in buckets filled with holy water. Evoke memories drinking from whodunit secrets. Whodunit? Who done it secrets? Weakened in poetry of Garcia Lorca. Andalusian dews heard here in Miles Davis's clues. Vibrating anew in sketches of Spain. Andante blues echoing anew in sketches of Spain.
Welcome, everyone. I'm so honored to be in Black Fire this time. Thank you. Thank you for this honor, Kim McMillan. I'm honored to be here reading and seeing you live as close as we can get on the screen. Okay, I'm going to go and I'm setting the timer. This is called Seventh Ward Daily Fare or Black Creole Talk. And these will be in my new book, expected in the spring. Seventh Ward Daily Fare or Black Creole Talk. In the Crescent City, we live in the inside of good luck, the right side of blessings. Past front steps and porches, we're giving thanks and praying town. Contrary to popular opinion, there's more churches than bars. Annually, we count the storms missing us, laugh and thank you, Lord, for another safe season. And in the middle of smiles, we see each other and wish y'all well until we chew the fat on the gallery again. Hey, he looks like Uncle Brother. No, he look like Jesse Hill. Who that? Mr. Upu Papa Do himself. Oh, they did that dude bad. Buried in Holt Cemetery. What? Potter's Field. No lie, that's Kapu. Bad luck. Uh-oh, got a step. Need to find a stump to fit and rest my rump. Chew some pecans later. Amen. Oh, I want to tell you about Oop Hoopa Doo. Oh, tell you the most. Oh, yeah. 'Cause I won't stop trying till I create a disturbance in your mind. From the brother himself. Okay, and this one is called Years Ago, 2 weeks before Katrina. 2 years ago, 2 weeks before Katrina, it was hotter and more humid than now. 1 week before Katrina hit, the ink was not dry yet on my PhD. My cousins, Big D and Con, plus more family, gave me a knockdown dance up backyard party. Cousins, neighbors, colleagues came from far. Elder neighbors who loved me through the hardest days of research and elder care of my daddy, through the crack epidemic that left daddy drooling from the putrid red beans, a layer of moldy slime swimming across the top of the big black iron pot I found in the filthy mice, rat infested kitchen with only a piece of roof dangling, roaches flying from nest to nest like birds. My family remembered that crackhead stole everything not nailed down, didn't leave daddy a pair of shoes. I had to draw around his feet on cardboard for sizing. The shoe clerk wanted security to remove me until I stood my ground and left with a tan pair of huaraches and slippers for daddy. Doctors thought daddy deaf and deteriorating from dementia, but he just closed his ears and leaking eyes to the disappointment he saw in his stepkids and the transient men who took over his home. His life with no hot running water, a broken toilet, the weeds growing through the bathroom floor from the dirt ground, 4 feet below the clawfoot iron tub, leaning through the broken floorboards, rotten from neglect. Took me 2 years in and out of court to get rid of those niggas. It was the filth and poor nutrition on top of it that diminished this World War II Army sergeant, master carpenter, into a man who babbled, slobbered, who forgot who he knew, my daddy, who used to dance with my mother and shuck oysters at our backyard parties growing up, had no idea what I walked into, just rolled his 300-pound body in sheets to clean him and change bed linens until the shower was installed. His first shower since his Army days, he sang. He was happy again and came back to himself fully for years, returning to stand guard on the front porch and greet family and neighbors, or what we call dope hopping, talk stuff about passersby. Even his doctors were shocked, but we all knew it was only God and a lot of prayers. My new college colleagues, friends, and professors, now friends, came and ate Buster's Clarines and Andrew's Bananas Foster bread pudding with us and danced the second line with us onto Dual Street and AP Turow Avenue, laughing faces in tune to Levert's I'm a Joan Casanova. Me and Romeo ain't never been friends. Can't you see how much I really love ya? Gonna say it to you time and time again. Oh, Casanova, they thought my family was celebrating my degree. But my cousin Larry said this backyard bash took him to our old parties, that everybody came for me, not for a wedding or a funeral. Baby, nobody got married and nobody died, he shouted. They came for me, for watching me love daddy back to health, back to himself, back to our family. And yes, the PhD, a family first, bringing us all together the way we were all raised. Only God, we said, only God. Cicadas sang through the evening, serenading the nights until stopped only days later by Hurricane Katrina, fanned across the Gulf. This was our family's last time all together with longtime elders, Mush, our jazz crooners, the fishnet making Leons and great gumbo cerise, no longer here. I told my family, maybe I'll write a novel about those hard days of waking up to a strawberry, a crackhead who peering over the African beads on my dresser, and daddy with no shoes. I'll change the names to protect the guilty. Oh yeah, it was hotter, much hotter, and less humid those years ago, when the last time our family was all together, when nobody died and nobody got married. I ain't much on Casanova. Me and Romeo ain't never been friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Heather and Kim, I'm honored to be in this anthology, and I'm also honored to be reading with so many great poets here. And so I want to first read a poem that I wrote. It was a Labor Day poem. Dr. Jerry Ward and I would write Labor Day poems and send to each other for a number of years. So this is one of those poems. Labor Day poem, September 3rd, 2018. Croaker, flounder, scallops, and shrimp. I carry the cooler, topped with crushed ice, chilling the catch that lies still from the Atlantic you want to take back to your mother, who has wanted fresh fish from my military hometown. I almost don't mention we traveled back this hot holiday morning, the traffic troubling I-40 West, gospel music spilling like water all the way to Raleigh, where sun beams like a giant balloon. I want to say scars shed so we can carry on again, even if no one acknowledges, like fishermen struggle, cast and reel the blessing of lines as if it were bait. Now from Black Fire this time. So 2020, I wrote quite a few blues poems, so this is one of the poems. I've been experimenting with poetry forms for a long time, more than 24 of them. So here we go. Summer Blues for George Floyd. I wish you were here for your children. Tree, tall, tree-like to guide them. I say, I wish you were here for your children. Way up tree-like to guide them. You don't know how bad we just hurt. Our nerves sting above the hem. Check the neighborhood for you. Walked up and down the street. Say, I checked the neighborhood for you. Walked up and down the street. But I only found the wind and summer sun to greet. How must you cope every day when your feet are heavy? Can I still proceed now? Just when your feet are heavy. You pray for strength and stamp away. Hold the tears like a levee. Say, I wish you were here for your children. Tall, tree-like to guide right. Say, I wish you were here for your children. Tall, tree-like to guide right. You dig how my coping now has nerves to sting above all might. Now you dig how my coping has nerves to sting above all night. 8 haiku for Amiri. First month of the year, you transform into transbluency. Winter recliner, you bend language across borders. Snow glazed night, your words flare off the page. All the voices rising from Liegh, the heater hums. Close reading, I recall your voice amid the chill, falling temperature, a student's research paper on your riffs, frigid shadows, black pupils stare from home. The cold deepens, the conjuring of blues people. Haiku sequence for Sonia. Your whole notes wake the dormant trees, the wind's breath, drums thump, pulsing of the heart song, the opening sky, jazz and haiku, shake loose my skin, a destined of pollen, insistent running of the long river, your archipelago, my black hands cupping the sunlight, jacuzzi bubbles, orange lilies bow, your noontime strut up the sidewalk. Rain long gone, I recite the syllables of your language. Evening walk, I catch your riff in my voice. Thank you.
And it's a pleasure to see the smiling faces and hear the wonderful voices of our colleagues and comrades from across the South. I want to read two very short pieces. One is it's a book of haiku that's scheduled to come out with Third World Press, be out sometime in the next 10 years or so, but Liegh, stop laughing at me. I'm not I'm not Petey Wheatstraw or one of them comedians you like. I know you from Mississippi. I know I got your number. Number 58. Black people believe in God, and I believe in Black people. Amen. That's 58, and this collection is going to have 100 haiku in it. I've written many of them, but they're not necessarily in order or any particular order, because I wanted to just share some things with folks. This final one is number 100, and it's a simple piece. What we know limits us. Wisdom loves everything not yet understood. What we know limits us. Wisdom loves everything.
All right. Good evening, afternoon. Being included in Black Fire this time is really coming full circle for me. It was the poets and the writers and artists of the Black arts movement that really had a strong influence upon me when I first started to write. The writing was brash, it was bold, and it was beautiful. And I didn't know you could curse like that. I mean, that's, you know, when I started reading the writers from the Black arts, I said, hey, I like this poetry stuff. I mean, I can get into this. So I never had the pleasure of meeting Amiri Baraka, but he did visit me in a dream one night. And this is called Nocturnal Poetics. Amiri Baraka burst all the windows out of my dream. I sat in a circle of poets where he towered in the midst of us. Randall Horton was there. Baraka advised that we read, practice, make certain our words lindy hop across the page. He admonished against over revision, to not limit our minds to what we think and to never imitate anyone, not even ourselves. He reminded us to consider the world, construct form to complement content, and that poetry is the bastard of politics. Baraka touched my shoulder, encouraged me to seek that smile at the bottom of the world, and with a wink of the eye, boarded daybreak, as if it were the A train headed uptown, going home. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. I'm honored to be amongst all of these superstars. You look up in the sky, we all up there. So I'm honored to be amongst us. I'm going to read as an epigraph to the poems I'll share, an excerpt from the essay, Look Back, Amiri, The Blues God Lives, which is in Black Fire this time. Quote, Sterling Brown, blues poet, literary scholar, and close associate of Langston Hughes, taught Amiri and others at Howard University that Black music was our history, a vast archive to recap untold insights into our past and present cultural practices. Thoughts, spirit, emotions, and creative genius. I share that because I harbor originally from up south, Washington, D.C., where I founded spoken word performance poetry ensemble in 1988. So, to the poem. First, Another Train for Alice and John Coltrane. Love interludes between play, preacherly their piano and sax, raised in notes of the spirit, pews and pulpits, people full of grace to survive this place, swirled in their dreams, prepared for each other. A Detroit High Point organ-blessed singularity, coordinated north and south, churchical immersions, humble miles and years, hard bop approaches to sound, calculated in silence. His silence churning inside, silence she listened to, her harp admired in its own way, his peace and perfection, inspired in a booth in Birdland, back tight by the bandstand. He played something just for her, turned the planet cosmically out, turned us spiritually in. Now they play blues forever, together for God. And then to close out the poem, Be We, for Amiri and Larry. One nation and we're on the move. Yes, one. Yes, one more spirit raised. Every time you sprayed deep traditions, a syllable, simile, metaphor, or solar plexus punch, the world became the holiest place. Kaaba, heaven, boom bad for the good of us. Yes, one. Fists pounded on the podium. Reconstruction, blues, jazz, incantations abounded. Ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da. Stretched Gullah from South Carolina to Newark, stretched the meaning of nation. Across pages and pages, our faces and minds, we became we. In your tears for Malcolm, your calls to struggle, to sing, fight, sang, fight,
Yeah, and I always think
right,
you got Xmas.
sang, sting,
But I've been
fall
noticing
down,
you always
get back up,
every time I
sang,
ask you.
fight, bring forth our new nation. Nothing can stop us now. For this book, for Kim and Heather, for bringing it to life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And yes, I wouldn't miss this for the world. I'm going to read 3 poems. 2 are short. All of them are from my forthcoming book, And the Earth Cried Blood. Well, no, 2 of them are. One of them I think is from the previous book. The first poem is entitled, it's an extended haiku called For the Post-Civil Rights Generation. I am the harvest moon stealing the light from the sky, robbing dark from night. I am the quarried stone standing in the corner, waiting to be used. I am the spirit you seek in your prayers, but never ever see. I am the motion of history moving ever forward, always changing things. I am the phantom hand you must hold on to till freedom is won. This is called Blues Eulogy for Black Bodies. Dark clouds, marshmallow thick, hang low over city streets. Gotham sleeps while cops creep through dark alleys and ghetto thoroughfares looking for suspects lurking in the shadows of fear and death. Their souls trapped somewhere between the want for freedom and the need for justice. Despite all the respectability politics our Negro politicians can fathom, we remain caught in the nightmarish game the great American pastime of watching crooked cops kill Black people in the holy name of God and country, law and order, and all that other Ringling Brothers shit. Caught on body cams that never seem to work when it comes to us getting justice as brown bodies bleed in the dead of a hot spring night. Another Black soul stolen by the state for the simple crimes of walking home in the rain, playing in the park, riding in a car with their families, or just obeying the law by raising their hands towards heaven, hoping to Jesus they make it home safe and in one piece. Too many times our hopes go unrealized. Too many times our questions go unanswered. Too many times our prayers go unheard and our dreams go unfulfilled as we commit yet another corpse to this cold and virulent earth. The last one is called The Task Ahead for Virgil Braxton, the great Mississippi poet. We must dream for the soul's sake of our children, live for their love and laughter, bask in the gentle and genuine tenderness of their innocent smiles, listen to the supple sound of their collective voices as they boldly speak of words to power, foretelling of changes to come. Thank you.
All right. Well, first and foremost, just thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of the project. And I was a little emotional earlier, just listening to Brother Quincy and Margaret Troupe. Even folks like, Lenard Moore and Darrell Stover. Those folks are legends here in North Carolina. And for those of us who've been beating the streets for the last decade, these words and these poets and these writers have been carrying us. So to be here today and a part of this, it means so much, and it's such a deep honor. Thank you all. I have three quick, brief poems, and they are all three from this wonderful book, Black Fire This Time. And I'll be reading basically in order as they're published. The first piece is All Natural. I like the kind of hair that will stand up for its rights, the kind that kicks, screams, and protests, the kind that resists and boycotts with every coil, the kind that fights, riots, and rebels, the kind that won't be quiet for nobody, the kind that won't be anything but Black, the kind that refuses to relax. The second piece is a dedication to one of the cornerstones of the Black liberation movement, and her name is Assata Shakur, and the name of this piece is called Assata General Shakur. They would like us to forget the likes of her sacrifices. One dark woman, well-dressed in plaid shadows, called Afro Freedom. Fighting, yelling, teaching, staying alive on the front line, imprisoned, exiled, wounded, still living, loving her people from the outer edges, etched within our hearts, tucked safely within our minds. One dark woman, well-dressed in plaid shadows, called Afro Freedom, clawing, scratching, scraping, staying alive on the front line. Wow, what a warrior. Wow, what a woman. What a wonderful general she's been. And the last piece is called In Baltimore, and it's a dedication to not only Brother Freddie Gray, but the time that I spent there fighting for justice during his case. In Baltimore. In Baltimore, if you're Black, they'll just sprinkle some crack on you and call it a day. Call it legal, call it justice, and call it arrest. And then when they're taking your Black ass into the county jail, they'll call the media, call the press, call the newspaper so they can call you crazy, call you guilty, and call you ghetto. What they won't do is call you a minor, call your parents, call the community so we can call you innocent and call for your release. Nah, the police won't do that. In Baltimore, if you're Black, they'll just sprinkle some crack on you and call it a day. A full day's pay, and tomorrow, on to somebody else's child, and they'll be calling it good police work. Thank y'all.
Good evening. I am just so happy to be here, and the poem I'll be reading is from this wonderful anthology. So thank you, Dr. McMillan, and thank you, Sister Buchanan, and all the work you guys have done. And the title of this poem is What Good Are Poems? And again, it's in this anthology. You can't just be matter. You can't just be matter. You got to be energy. And it ain't no sense being a spook if you ain't gonna be spooky. I said it ain't no sense in being no spook if you ain't gonna be spooky. And it ain't no sense of being spooky if you ain't willing to scare the evil out of some folks. So I guess I'll be an electric spook. Or maybe I'll just be spooky electric. Is that all right? But the real question is, I say the real question is, are you fertilizer? Are you fertilizer? Or are you excrement? I say, are you fertilizer? Or are you excrement? See, can a poem be as effective as a 357? Can the images of a poem spray buckshot holes into the body of a greenback stuffed sheet wearing shot? Can a poem be thrown as a brick through the window of a grocery store so that we may pillage and plunder its shelves for food for the hungry? Can a poem be laid on top of a poem, be laid on top of a poem, be laid on top of a poem until we have built a shelter for the homeless? Does a poem need $1 million war chest or a foundation grant to be mightier than a sword? What good does a poem do a spoiled bloated belly? Can a poem lay hands on the sick and clothe the naked? Can a poem work voodoo on an ACT score? Can a poem pull the rent payment from a musician's hat? Can poems assassinate Negro turncoats who have sold their souls to racist rags? Can poems cut short the lives of serpentine superintendents who slyly suffocate African babies in Euro excrement disguised as Caucasian curriculums? See, poets are the African bees of political pollination, and poems are the sperm of revolution. We need poets to stop adding extra syrup and saccharin to their sunny source to appease the pale palates of people who have not the stomach for straight no chaser truth. We need poets to stop mindlessly masturbating away their talents into the mental napkins of oversexed audiences. We need poets to start impregnating thoughts of black magnolias bursting through white cement into the minds of raven virgin souls who about it toil into the reproductive process of self-aversion. See, poems are the sperms of revolution. Are you making love to your people? Or are you simply fornicating away your existence? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I am so honored to be here. This poem that I'm going to do was a response to one of the readings we had. We were reading an excerpt from Freshwater Road by Denise Nichols. And all I could think about was my reaction to the dark in Mississippi. And so this is called Mississippi Novice, June 2022. I have always said nights are without illumination in Jackson, Mississippi. It is the darkest dark, the see no hand before your face kind of darkness that foments hates from scenes cast before day. It is a nothingness, the kind of sea of black cobalt portending clash of blue moon teacups with AK-47s and politely knotted nooses. The stars refuse to shine. History opens nightmares in the pitch blackness no other states lay claim to. And on full moon nights, the acrid air bears witness to pain. I avoid the dark alone, because as you travel the road, you question yourself. Does technology really exist? While nervously searching for the flicker of light that says, this is home. Thank you.
In 2016, we put together with Mona Lisa and Kalamu, we put together the Black Arts Movement at Dillard Movement Conference with Harvard Hutchins Center with the support of Skip Gates. We put together a conference and also the support of Tulane University at Dillard. And Kalamu and Mona Lisa and so many others were instrumental in making it happen. And Jerry was one of them. And Jerry is, as a human being, is one of the kindest and nicest people I've ever had the honor of knowing. And when he feels strongly about something, you can't, he feels that way. That's who he is. He has what I consider a real knowledge of what's right for him, what he really believes in. And when he believes in something, he stands for it. And he stands by it no matter what it is. And he has a heart of gold. And so I was just really honored to have people like Kalamu and Mona Lisa and Jerry, who all had my back when I was doing the conference at Dillard University. And there's one of my favorite moments with Jerry is we were doing a conference, was all men. We decided because we had rambunctious men and women. And so we split the conference in the men speaking about the Black Arts Movement. Kalamu was on that panel, and the women panel was a whole group of incredible, wonderful women, like Dr. Margot Crawford and Dr. Doris Derby, and just so many beautiful women. And someone talked about how the Black Arts Movement and what it stood for was not necessarily really seen for all its worth at Black universities. And Jerry was like, okay, let me tell you how wrong you are. And, you know, if anyone knows Jerry, they know that he was felt very strongly, and he got up and told everyone what he thought. And it was just one of the strongest moments of that conference. And he's special. He's very special. So if Kalamu and Mona Lisa want to say anything or share anything, that would be beautiful.
Sure. I selected a short piece. First of all, I agree with everything you said. Jerry, first of all, is extraordinary. Dr. Jerry Ward. He has, oh my God, done so much for so many. He's an educator bar none, a critic bar none. His work on Richard Wright is exemplary, and his students are successful. He was an excellent colleague and wonderful creative arts supporter in the community here, and always encouraging me. God bless him. And I'm just going to read this short piece, but for you, Jerry, God bless you For Toni Morrison, this is Dr. Jerry Ward. On a needful day, your terribleness troubles the house like thunderclaps ripping a delta sky. You gather a bushel of autumn, run faith-filled fingers over your threads. Your needles of sunlight worry a healing into history. The ancient lady in your bones, memories out the quilts. Her leaf work stitches spring invisible at the seams. You know winter's Star Wars have designs to freeze our flesh. Your preternatural covers blithely summer us into dawn. Dr. Jerry Ward.
This is Kalamu. Jerry is my friend, has been my friend, and will continue to be my friend long after I'm gone. We're gonna be together somewhere doing something. Jerry and I would often go out to eat together, to lie together, to tell truth together. And when I say lie, I mean that in the sense of we didn't exactly know what was going on in people's minds, but we would make up our interpretations of what it was that motivated so-and-so to do such and such, or to say such and such. And then, of course, we would talk about what we knew and not what we supposed. Jerry Ward continues. He is in the hospital. It's ironic. When I left the VA hospital, Jerry came in shortly thereafter, and he's in the VA hospital now. Jerry, get well. And if you don't get well, we'll get together anyway. They only let one at a time in the rooms over there, but I'll wait my turn and I'll be right there. See you later, Jerry.
Is there anyone else that would like to say something about Jerry, or to say something about his work?
Yeah, this is Darrell. Jerry situates us in that other capital of Black culture, Jackson, Mississippi. And I say that without compunction because of my close mentor and friend was from Jackson, Mississippi, a gentleman by the name of Otis Williams. And it was through him that I was able to meet Jerry for the first time, because he invited Jerry to the campus, to the University of Maryland, College Park, back when I was a young whippersnapper and undergrad student there. And so that set the stage for my intellectual engagement of Jerry, who he was, and then to come to know Jerry even more so in other poetry settings where he would be hanging out along with people like Lenard and others. And yeah, we would chew the fat, we would do readings, but he is most importantly to us as a people, all those many people that were referenced, those students that have gone on. He is for us, just like Sterling Brown was to a person like Amiri Baraka. He put the heat and soul fire of our culture and our history front and center in your intellect for you to be heated up and ready to carry forth. And so Jerry is a powerful entity in regards to that whole aspect. And I am honored to meet him. And I send you powerful vibes to that VA hospital where you are situated. And it's an honorable thing to have met Jerry, but more importantly, to have heard Jerry read his work. And as was just shared by Kim, to see him get fired up because somebody done come out the mouth wrong. So yeah, more power to Jerry.
Anyone else? Celie, would you like to say something?
Yeah, Charlie, go ahead. I'll go after Charlie. Go ahead, Charlie.
Doc, I met Doc as an undergrad. You all call him Jerry. I affectionately call him Doc. In respect for his intellect, in respect for the fact that he was my main teacher as a poet. As a matter of fact, the day I said to myself and considered myself a bona fide poet, I used to always send poems or show Dr. Ward poems, and he would always either give them back or send them back dripping with red ink. Seriously. And I wrote this poem called Jazzy Street Walk, and I was at David Bryan Williams' house, the poet David Bryan Williams' house. I was living in Macomb and working as a cultural arts worker, and I'd been working on poems. So I called Dr. Ward over because I was spending the night at David's house, and he said, okay, I'm going to bring some poems. I want you to read what you got lately. And I said, okay. Again, I'm always nervous when I read in front of Kalamu or Dr. Ward. So I read the poem, and Dr. Ward said, he didn't say anything. He said, can I see the text? I said, sure. I said, okay, here it comes. Here comes the red ink. And he looked at it, and I was waiting for the ink. And he gave it back to me and said, you know what? That's a good poem. And from that point on, I was like, okay, I'm a poet now. Dr. Ward said so. I finally wrote a poem that he didn't find fault in. Doc is somebody whom I could always talk to, and he would straighten me out in a hot second. I miss talking to him. I hope to talk to him soon in this life or the next. Like Kalamu said, I'm going to be by his side some way, shape, form, or fashion.
That's so beautiful. I wanted to say one thing else about Jerry. He's the most compassionate person. When someone was giving me a really rough time, he emailed me and said, don't let things like that upset you. And he just wanted to make sure that I wasn't hurt. And he said, it's going to be okay. And, you know, I thought it was so incredible that he stopped to comfort me, you know, and it was just such a kind thing to do. It was just extremely kind thing to do. Yeah. So does anyone else have anything before we go on to say?
Yes, Kim, I want to say something else.
Okay.
I want to say that Jerry is a longtime friend, a longtime mentor, and he also made comments on a number of my poems over the years. And also he and I would talk on the phone, you know, on and on and on. I enjoyed talking to him, and his intellect is just out of this world, you know. Very sharp, critical mind, a friend, quite supportive. He has attended meeting of the Carolina African American Writers Collective, a time when we met at the Black Culture Center at UNC Chapel Hill. And I could say we have broken bread many times all over the country, and you know, he's just a great friend. So that's what I want to say, and I look forward to talking to him again, because that's what we often did.
Thank you, Lenard. Celie, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to read the last stanza of Dr. Ward's poem, Don't Be 14 in Mississippi, but I'm going to tell a story that involves Dr. Mona Lisa Saloy that she has never heard and has no idea about a backstory to something that she thought just happened seamlessly. So Sadiq Khalid and I were nominated for the Tom Benn Award, and we were the finalists. And it came down to us, and Sadiq won. And you know, and the backstory on that is that Sadiq and I had been friends for a while, so we were really close. We were thick as thieves. We'd been up and down the road. So Saidi counted, Saidi won, and I was cool until it wasn't Dr. Saloy, but it was somebody else associated, either emailed or called and asked, well, look, would you submit the presentation for Saidi? And I was like, so you want me to tell why he better than me? I mean, that's what you asking me to do? And the person said, well, you know, we didn't really think about it that way, but sure. I was like, well, let me get back with you. And y'all know, when somebody say, let me get back with you, that mean they ain't getting back with you. So I told Doc Ward the story, and he just kind of sat there, and he said, well, see, Lee, let me ask you a couple of questions. I said, yeah. He said, do you think Saidi is a quality poet? I said, yes, Saidi is a quality poet. I said, he said, do you think Saidi is a quality human being? I said, yes, he's a quality human being. He said, well, wouldn't you just be telling the truth if you stood up and said that? I said, yeah, Doc, but I mean, it just feel like me. They want me to say he's better than me. And so finally he took a beat and he said, well, see, Lee, do it. Because I need you to know that poetry careers are like God. And I said, poetry careers are like God? He said, yeah, they both work in mysterious ways. And here is how I know they work in mysterious ways and why Saidi is still mad at me today. When I gave the presentation, so the Tom Dent Award is just that, it's an award. You get a certificate, right? You get an award. So I gave my presentation on Saidi, and immediately 4 people hired me to pay money to go and get presentation. So to this day, so he was like, I got a damn award and you got 4 checks and I won. How the hell did that happen? I said, you should have had Dr. Ward as your mentor. So that is my Jerry Ward story about learning to see. And I just want to read the last stanza to his poem, Don't Be 14, because there are 4 poems that I've tried to rip off. You know, there are other poems that I've been inspired by. There are 4 poems that I just straight tried to jack and rip off. Cosmic Deputy by Kalamu Salaam, For My People by Margaret Walker Alexander, Black Art by Amiri Baraka, and of course, Don't Be 14 in Mississippi. And I tried to rip all 4 of them off and was horrible in doing it, which is why you've never seen those poems, but I'm still trying to rip off those 4 poems. And so just the last part of this poem, don't be 14, black and male in Mississippi. They say you a bad nigga named Bubba, a disgrace to the race for your first offense, and slam you in parchment for 48 years. You need, they say, a chance to grow. Don't be 14, black and male in Mississippi. They say you a man at 2, so be 1. When white boys ask you why you don't like them, spit on them with your mouth closed. Jerry Ward.
Wow. Dr. Doris Derby was my mentor, and she would call me about once a week just to see how I was doing, and then ask me things like, "Do you have a job yet?" But so when she stopped calling, it was just, for me, it was devastating. But this is one of the poems she told me to pick out the poems of hers that I like, and put them inside the anthology. And this is one I thought was so beautiful. And I don't know if any of you know about Dr. Doris Derby, but she worked in the Southern, the Mississippi Civil Rights Movement, the cooperatives, the Free Southern Theater. She was a brilliant artist. She was an educator. She was always stretching out her hand to help someone. And she was absolutely, and a brilliant artist. She was absolutely amazing. And so I chose Earthchild because I just thought it was beautiful. Earthchild, fear not. Your rags, your mirror, your beautiful blackness is clothing, the pearl, blue skies, golden sun, green leaves of our pregnant mother. We and the beautiful brown, black, red earth are one. And she had that spirit of just giving, literally giving to make the planet a better place. And she had that feeling with her that you could reach out and she would guide you. And she was just beautiful. Thank you very much.
This is Kalamu. I want to, two things about Doris Derby that I think what I like to share, and I hope that other people can appreciate. One is that she was one of the founders of Free Southern Theater, along with John O'Neill and Gilbert Moses in Jackson, Mississippi. Gilbert and John thought that they needed to make it on down to New Orleans with the theater. And Doris said, no, we started here in Jackson, we ought to stay and do the work in Jackson. She was outvoted 2-1. It was the three of them that made the decisions. The Free Southern Theater moved to New Orleans. And I joined the theater in 1968, but the theater had been going since 64, 65 in Jackson, Mississippi, and then moved down to New Orleans. Doris Derby stayed the course. And part of that course had to do with the civil rights work, primarily with SNCC, the people from SNCC, who lived in the communities where they worked. They didn't just drop in, they didn't just visit, they weren't just there for a march. They actually lived with the people whom they were trying to organize. Doris Derby could have made it anywhere in the world, but she decided to stay and work in Mississippi. Secondly, and it's very important that people understand, she was not just a writer, she was also a photographer. And one of her major books consists primarily of photography of people in Mississippi. That's Dr. Doris Derby. And she is extremely important and is often overlooked when people talk about the Free Southern Theater and talk about work in the civil rights workers in Mississippi. But she is one of those special people who have left a living legacy and did everything she could to promote the people of the place where she chose to make her home. She wasn't born in Jackson, but damn sure made a home out of Jackson.
What you said was beautiful, Kalamu, because you're right. You know, she could have done anything. And when you ask her why she stayed in these places, because she could tell horror stories, but she felt there was a need for her to be there. You know, one of the jobs she had when she was working with Martin Luther King and several members, Andrew Young and others, was to go to, they were arresting the SNCC workers and putting them in jail. One of her jobs, just a job, was to go to the prison and holler, or the jail, and holler up, did anyone need anything? And if they needed stuff, she would find a way to get it to them. And you think a job of hollering up to the jail, do you need something? What kind of job was that? But for some of those people, when you read some of the stories, it was life and death. Some of the things that were happening to them in those jails. And so people like her, Dr. Doris Derby, really made a difference. Did anyone else want to say anything? And thank you, Kalamu, for photography. That was so important.
I would just add that, and even until the last days of her life, she was still committed to Jackson, Mississippi, and particularly the Margaret Walker Alexander Research Center. Probably at least half of, and I hope I'm not getting this number wrong, probably at least half of the last few events put on by the Margaret Walker Research Center in some way had something to do with Dr. Derby, either her research or her exhibits or her just lending time there. So I mean, Kalamu was absolutely right that not only did she stayed until the very end while she kept a residence elsewhere. And we all know that she was a, citizen of the world, but till the day she, her soul transitioned somewhere else, her heart, her soul, her mind, her body were all about doing the work in Jackson, Mississippi, and specifically through the Margaret Walker Research Center.
Yeah, it's true. Thank you, Seeley.